right, so circle the hips. As big and as small or as fast and as slow as you want to go. You can, take your hip movement into whatever you need it to be. If there's an interesting area, again, that you find you have to, what's going on over there? Just go back and forth over that area a couple times. You get a little more information. And I always find it, I seem to always put my hands back on my SI joints to get, like, well, who's moving, who's not, what's soft and what's harder, if the fronts of your hips, your hip flexors, because there is the physical warmth of your hands, but also there is energy that comes out of the palms. So if you have an area that feels a little like it needs a little extra help, putting your hands there, if you're putting your hands on your hip creases, if you've been sitting all day yesterday or a lot of the day and you feel like everything's tight, the hip flexors come up and through here. The psoas goes down and attaches on the inside of your femurs here. And if you put your hands there, you're adding warmth and chi to those areas and awareness. And if you're one of those people that you're a side sleeper and your hips bother you in the morning, the greater trochanter area, then you can put your hands on the outsides and kind of give a little energy and attention to that area. But again, I like to do the SI joints. It's my holding spot. And then circle the other way. It's also a very gentle way to bring your awareness back into your body if you've been busy and your head is, buzzing, to bring it back slowly into your body, noticing where the ticks and pops and whatever are going on, and so that you can be aware when you're moving, that area might need a little extra attention. All right, so when we go down to the knees, so to not be stressful on the knees, if you just draw your navel center in and open your back first, and then bend down towards your knees, you're going to get a nice back stretch, and it takes the pressure off the knees. You circle, putting your feet together, circling the knees together, so you have a little bit of support medially and laterally, just having my legs together. But I am equally, I was feeling the popping on my left, and I feel that my left side now, when I come into this position, is in fact tighter. So that's where that popping, was coming from, is that, my left back is tighter than my right. So you get information here. It's not just about, warming up and circling the knees. It's about warming up my back and stretching out my low back. And that's going to affect in around your SI joints. And circle the other way. And of course, my hands are above my knees so I can support my upper body weight, but I'm also, sending warmth and chi through my hands to my knees. The more your mind and your body are together, the more you are activating your own inner healing mechanisms, changing your body chemistry to be, self-healing. Instead of being distracted by something that's way out there, you're bringing it in here, and you're, potentiating the medicine that your body produces. So we're going to go to the middle dantian over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Of course, I read a lot of natural healing stuff, and they all say the same thing, that everything that you need to heal yourself is within yourself, but creating that mind-body pattern and giving yourself, of course, the best, rest, nutrition, and, whatever supplements your nutrition might be missing is really going to help you to heal whatever it is that you have going on, whether it's an injury or something else internal, physical appendage or organ. Okay, so we're going to circle the other way. So I have my hand on my lower dantian because that part I'm trying to keep still while I stir the upper. And it's not an easy isolation to get. Of course, I've been doing it a while. So what this is showing me is that popping sound, it's really above my hip. It's in my low back, and I kind of I'm feeling into my low back as I do this. I'm circling my spine above my hips, and my hips are still. It also just teaches you how to have more resilience and movement through your torso, which we do want when we're doing Tai Chi. And you see my knees are not moving, my hips are not moving. I'm turning the spine. All right, and then I'm going to go up to the shoulders. And as I bring the shoulders back and down, I'm asking the chest, the sternum to open. All those muscles that are usually drawing in to the center in the front, I'm asking them to stretch the opposite direction. And letting the ribs have a little bit of movement. So the up and the down and the back and the forward, or letting the ribs release in ways that they might not in my everyday motion. Just being true to these exercises, it's not like they're exceptionally hard. It's just that doing them regularly is what makes the difference. So my left side seems to be the crunchy side today. Feel it in that shoulder. Sometimes your non-dominant side is the one that does all the holding and the stabilizing, so that your dominant side can do what it needs to do, and then you figure that out when you're doing your warm-ups. Like, oh wow, it's not where I expected the tightness to be. And circle the other way. So I'm back, up, forward, and down. All right, so lifting the crown, ear to the shoulder, and then let the head drop down and forward, ear to the shoulder, head drops down and forward. Again, nice and easy and even. Nothing jerky about this motion. And your neck will release more willingly if you're not doing any jerky motions. You can lift your chin. It feels like you want to go back a little bit, but just avoiding going straight back. You can lift your chin and drop. And then Abby, turn out of the palm, which of course stretches out the front of the shoulder, and it opposes exactly what we do all day long, which is head forward and thumbs down. Now it's thumb out and head back and lifted. And again, if you find it interesting to stay there a little bit, you don't have to follow this rhythm. You can hesitate and hold that and see what it feels like. Sometimes you get quite a bit of nerve activity going down your arm because the nerve is compressed by tight tissue in the neck and the scalenes, in the pec. Thoracic outlet syndrome. It's all this area here that we're stretching. So if you have any little bit of thoracic outlet going on, when you go to the full range of your tissue, you might feel a little nerve stuff going on just because you're putting yourself on a stretch, and that is, if you're tight, it could be compressing the nerves. So you want to stay within what feels comfortable, where you get a nice stretch, but you're not aggravating the nerve. Okay, because we don't really get that far in life with aggravated nerves. So you want to just work with the tissue at an edge where it doesn't totally aggravate the nerve because it's already compressed. And probably because of what I do, I have more pounds per square inch going on in my thoracic outlet than some other people do. Okay. So I'm going to do my roll down. So now I want to just supple my body. I'm going to supple the bladder meridian. So I'm just going to drop my nose, feel the back of my neck, and then start to soften my heart and roll around that, soften my solar plexus, roll around that, soften around my lower dantian. And then when my hands reach my knees, I stay there and I roll side to side so that I'm staying in the spine. And this is a big, it doesn't look so big, but actually it's a pretty good stretch for your SI joint, particularly if you keep your knees with your toes and you really turn from your lower back. That's stretching the SI joint, the ligaments around that joint. It's a nice stretch. And then as though somebody's pulling my tailbone down so I can roll my spine back up and lift my crown. I'm going to go down a little further, which is going to get into my legs. So rolling around the heart, solar plexus, dantian this time, dropping my hands below my knees. And you stop where it's interesting. It's like, oh, I feel something going on in my upper hamstring. I'm going to stop right there and then do the roll. And again, trying to keep the knees with the toes so that you know that you're really turning your back. That if I start turning my knees, I'm not turning my back at all. But if I keep my knee with my toe, I'm asking my back to do the turn. And that's what's getting me the stretch. QL, the usual backache muscle is your quadratus lumborum. When you first start gardening, that's the muscle that does you in and can lock up your SI joint. So as though somebody's pulling your tailbone down, you roll back up, you lift your crown, and then one more time we're going to drop, rolling around the core channel points, and then you go as far as you're comfortable. It's just where you feel that tug on your hamstrings. Keep your knees with your toes and try to turn your back. So your hips are going to turn a little bit more when you go further down, but you are getting a nice ringing action through your hamstrings, but still you're trying to be somewhat still through your knees so that your back is asking for the stretch to happen through your legs. And the knees can be soft. You don't have to keep them locked. All right, and then you can release that. Tailbone being pulled down as the crown comes back up. Do something we haven't done in a while, step out. This is a fairly big stretch. You're going to move up and we're going to turn. So here I am. I'm not doing, my legs are going to stay more straight. I'm going to reach out to the side and drop, let my legs stretch. And then when I come up, I can drop my tailbone energetically and soften my knees so that I'm using my legs to push me back up. So then I can open back up. So I'm going to turn a little bit towards my outside foot, drop down. I can soften my knees. You can keep your knees soft through the whole thing, just so that you're not locking and unlocking. But when you stretch up, just let your torso really stretch. Reach. Letting your legs and your torso have a stretch. And then go the other way. So you're reaching across and down. Use your legs to come up. Drop your tail, lift the crown. Turn, drop, turn, use the legs, come back up. All right. So letting the hands come back down. We're going to turn and do the foot roll. Again, besides all of the other things that this Qigong does, the reason I like to start with just the foot roll is if you get lost in your arms, you forget you have feet that propel you. And a lot of times you can get it in Tai Chi, you can forget that you have the foot is part of the repelling you forward. right? So I really need to feel my feet fully. You feel the pops and the cracks. Let your ankles really do a full range of motion, which you know, your ordinary walk might not be doing. So I'm going to lift my toes, I'm going to lift my heel, I'm going to lift my toes, and I'm going to lift my heel. So anterior, tibialis anterior on the front of your leg, and using the calf soleus on the back. Lift the heel, lift the toe. You get this kind of rolling, almost like you feel you're being pushed forward by your foot, and you're being pushed back by your front foot. So kind of activating the foot and waking it up. And the cooler it gets, the more you need to wake up the distal areas of the body. You know, the ones that are close in here are warmer because they're closer into where the furnace is, in your digestive system and your respiratory system. But the distal areas, they're not getting as much heat. I know I'm talking about that a little prematurely, but when it's cool out in Michigan, you know it's coming here. So lift. Okay, so now I'm going to open up the heart, and then I'm going to fold forward. And lift the heart and bend forward. And you only bend forward as far as your hamstring allows you at this hour of the morning. So I don't have to go super deep. But I do want to try to open the heart. The rest will follow, the hip fold. I actually think that this exercise in and of itself on its own has improved my ability to kick, because it's so whole bladder meridian, whole back of the body stretching in such a deep, you get into such a nice deep forward stretch, and you get your circulation going. So I'm just kind of noticing that lately, that it's easier for me to lift into a kick as we do this exercise more. This is your kick. This is your kick. So the closer you get, you know, with a kind of straight spine, yes, you're bending your low back, you know, it gets closer towards your leg. That becomes, you come up, that is that. Okay, that's that angle of your torso to your leg. So it will get better. And of course, you guys know that I damaged that hamstring, so it needs all the help it can get. So I'm rolling from foot to foot, lifting my heel, lifting my toe, lifting my heel, lifting my toe. You know, exaggerating the movement at the foot. I bring my attention and my energy to my feet. And noticing something feels off, you know, you've got some bones kind of out of place, that can happen. You're just encouraging the proper alignment through your feet, lifting my heel, lifting my toe, exaggerating now the lower leg muscles, tibialis anterior, it's that pad of muscle on the front of your shin, that front outside of your shin that usually gets sore if you go to a city and you walk a lot. And then, of course, the calf and the soleus, the muscle underneath the calf. Really attending to the feet. And then open the chest. And you start with a small bend forward. Open the chest, relax the back, letting my low back stretch open. That's what's going to make me bend forward more, is the release of my low back. Lift the heart, open the kidney. Lift the heart, open the kidney. Lift the heart, open the kidney. And then come back and you can just put a kick out there. It's the same kind of relationship between your torso and your leg as when you're in that forward bend. All right.